At night, the house always felt different. A heavy silence would fall, broken only by the creaking floorboards. It wasn't a peaceful quiet. It felt like someone was watching, like the house was holding its breath, waiting for something bad to happen. I told myself it was just the old house settling, trying to ignore the feeling, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. This feeling was strongest in my study, which looked out over the backyard. The big oak tree, usually so comforting, became a scary shadow at night. Its twisted branches looked like skeletal fingers against the night sky. The first time I heard it, I thought it was an animal. A low growl, deep and scary, coming from the oak tree. It was quick, gone in a flash. I listened hard, but the night was silent again, but the noises kept coming back. Every night they got louder, closer, scratching at the back door like claws on wood. The sound of broken glass in the garden. And always that low, scary growl, reminding me I wasn't alone. Then one night, things changed. I was watching the security camera footage when I saw something weird, a blur of motion at the edge of the woods, just out of focus. It was gone so fast. I rewound the tape, watching it in slow motion. My heart pounded as I tried to understand what I saw. It was something or someone in the shadows. Its shape was blurry, like a figure made of smoke. And then I heard it, a whisper, barely louder than the leaves. It was a high-pitched, distorted sound, like a voice played backward. The whispers continued every night, getting louder and closer. They snaked through the darkness, making me feel crazy. I couldn't sleep anymore, always on edge. I was trapped in my own house, too scared to go outside after dark. The cameras were my only comfort, my view into the nightmare outside. The shadowy figures became clearer each night, their movements less like ghosts, more real. They darted between trees, their shapes twisting and changing. Then one night I saw it, a face. The faces showed up more and more, staying longer in view. They seemed to enjoy scaring me, their expressions changing from smirks to anger in a second. I felt hunted, stalked by something I couldn't see or understand. Then came the screams, a low moan at first, carried on the wind. I told myself it was an animal, anything but what I knew it really was. One night, as I watched the monitors, a new sound cut through the night. A voice, high and scared, a voice I knew. It was Sarah, my neighbor's daughter, a sweet girl who played with my kids. Her voice, usually so happy, was full of terror. Her screams made my skin crawl. On the monitor, a shadow darted across the yard, holding something that struggled. The figure was dark against the moon, its face hidden. Panic choked me. My mind raced. I had to call someone, do something, but who would believe me? Who would believe shadows were stealing people from their yards? I felt a huge responsibility. Sarah's screams echoed in my head. "Sir, we're sending someone to your house. Stay calm and stay on the line." The operator's voice gave me a little bit of hope. Someone was coming. Help was on the way. But deep down, I knew it was too late. Sarah was gone. "They took her into the woods," I choked into the phone. "They took her into the woods." I slammed the phone down, the disconnect as loud as my racing heart. I grabbed a flashlight and ran out of the study. Fear whispered in my ear, telling me to turn back, to hide. But Sarah's scared face, her desperate cries, pushed me forward. The trees surrounded me, their branches blocking the moon, making the path dark. The air smelled like damp earth and rotting leaves. My flashlight bounced across the ground, showing twisted roots and fallen branches that looked like skeletal fingers. The deeper I went, the scarier it got, the only sound my racing heart. My mind told me to go back, that I was walking into a trap. But something else, fear and a sliver of hope, told me to keep going. The growl echoed through the trees, closer than ever. My hand shook. the flashlight beam jumping around, making scary shadows. I kept going, fear making me faster. The bushes grabbed at my clothes, trying to stop me, but I couldn't stop, not when Sarah might still be alive. Then I saw it, something white in the dark leaves, a piece of fabric caught on a branch. The trees opened up to a small clearing lit by a strange light. It came from a lantern hanging from a branch, its flame flickering. Under it, lying on the ground, was a figure. Sarah. Relief washed over me. She was alive. I knelt beside her, my hand on her cold shoulder. She wasn't breathing. Panic came back, crushing the hope I had. "Sarah?" I whispered, my voice shaking. "Sarah, can you hear me?" Only silence answered, broken by the wind in the trees. Then I heard it. A voice, a whisper from somewhere unreal. It wasn't Sarah, it came from the shadows. The whispers swirled around me, cold and evil, creeping into my mind. They spoke of unseen things, of ancient evils, of a darkness that destroyed everything. They spoke of Sarah, but not the Sarah I knew. They spoke of her as a tool, a key to something evil and huge. My blood turned to ice. The flashlight fell, leaving only the flickering lantern. Panic almost took over, but a weird calmness settled over me. I was in too deep, in a place where logic didn't matter. The whispers grew louder, the darkness closer. Then I saw them. The shadowy figures, no longer hiding, came from the trees, their shapes twisting into monstrous forms. Their eyes burned in the darkness, staring at me with a chilling hunger. I was trapped, alone, facing the unknown. The figures moved towards me, their bodies bending in unnatural ways, their eyes locked on mine. They weren't hiding anymore. They had tasted fear, and they wanted more. Panic screamed inside me. I scrambled back, but my hands found only damp leaves and rotting branches. The smell of decay filled the air. The whispers grew louder, taunting me, promising me nothingness. They were in my head now, twisting my thoughts, telling me to give up. I closed my eyes, trying to block it all out, but the darkness was everywhere. I was trapped with nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Suddenly the whispers stopped. The figures froze, their eyes still on me. A heavy silence fell. A new sound started, a rhythmic thumping, soft at first, then louder. It came from my house, a steady beat, bang, bang, bang. The figures shifted, looking towards the sound. They flickered faster, like they were caught between two worlds. The whispers came back, but they were different, urgent, scared, bang, bang, bang. The thumping grew louder, closer. It came from the back of the house, from the study. It was the sound of something trying to break through. Then I realized it was the cameras, smashing against the study window, trying to reach me, to warn me. The figures turned together, looking at the house. They were leaving. Their movements were synchronized, almost as if they were part of a single entity. The air was thick with tension, and the silence was deafening. It was as if the night itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen, going back into the darkness. The forest seemed to swallow them whole, their forms blending seamlessly with the shadows. It was as if they had never been there, like ghosts fading into the ether. The darkness was their ally, their sanctuary, but not because they were beaten. No, their retreat was not one of defeat. It was calculated, deliberate. They moved with a purpose, as if they had somewhere else to be, something else to do. Their departure was a strategic withdrawal, not a surrender. No, they were running because something much worse was at my house. The house stood there, a dark silhouette against the night sky, exuding an aura of malevolence. It was as if the house itself was alive, a sentient being that harbored something truly terrifying within its walls, something that scared even these monsters. The fear in their eyes was unmistakable. These were creatures that thrived on fear, that relished in the terror of others. And yet, they were afraid. Whatever was in that house was powerful enough to instill fear in the hearts of monsters. I stood up, my legs shaking. The adrenaline coursed through my veins, making it hard to keep my balance. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get as far away from that house as possible, but I couldn't. I had to know what was inside. The whispers followed me, quieter now, but still there. They were like a constant haunting presence, a reminder that I was never truly alone. The whispers were insidious, seeping into my mind, planting seeds of doubt and fear. They taunted me, told me there was no escape. Their voices were a cacophony of malice, each whisper more sinister than the last. They reveled in my fear, feeding off it, growing stronger with every step I took. I had to get back to the house. It was a compulsion, an irresistible pull. The house was the epicenter of this nightmare, and I needed to confront whatever was inside. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing like a drum in the silence of the night. I had to see what had scared those things away. Curiosity and fear battled within me, each one vying for control. The house loomed larger with each step, its dark windows like eyes watching my every move. What could be so terrifying that even monsters would flee? But a deep fear held me back, screaming at me to run. It was a primal fear, one that gripped my very soul. Every fiber of my being urged me to turn around, to escape while I still could. But I couldn't. I had to know. Ignoring it, I stumbled forward, my flashlight beam shaking. The light was weak, barely piercing the darkness. Each step was a struggle, my legs feeling like lead. The forest seemed to close in around me, the trees like silent sentinels watching my progress. The woods felt like they were closing in. The branches reached out like skeletal hands trying to pull me back. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the ground was uneven, making every step treacherous. But I kept going, wanting to see what was waiting for me. Determination fueled my steps, pushing me forward. I had come this far, and there was no turning back now. Whatever awaited me in that house, I was ready to face it. My house stood before me, dark and silent. It was a place that once held warmth and laughter, now shrouded in an eerie stillness. The moonlight cast long shadows, making the house appear even more menacing. No lights, no signs of life. The windows, once welcoming, now seemed like the hollow eyes of a skull, staring back at me with a cold, unfeeling gaze. It stood there, hiding a terrible secret, a secret that gnawed at the edges of my mind, filling me with a dread I couldn't shake off. The air was thick with an unspoken menace. My steps slowed as I walked up the path, each crunch of gravel loud in the quiet. The sound echoed in the stillness, amplifying my growing fear. Every step felt like a step closer to the unknown. The whispers were a murmur now, but still there. They seemed to come from the very walls of the house, a chorus of lost souls trying to warn me or perhaps lure me in. The front door was slightly open, like a monster's mouth. It beckoned me to enter, to uncover the horrors that lay within. The darkness beyond the door seemed to pulse with a life of its own. A cold breeze came out, smelling like damp earth and something metallic. The smell of blood. It was a scent that brought back memories of fear and pain, memories I had tried to bury deep within. I pushed the door open, the hinges groaning. Darkness swallowed me. The air inside was colder, as if the house itself was a tomb, preserving the horrors within. I reached for the light switch, my fingers touching something cold and wet. Blood. It was sticky and fresh, a stark reminder of the violence that had taken place. The lights flickered on, showing the horror inside. The hallway was destroyed. Walls were gouged with deep scratches, as if some beast had clawed its way through. Furniture was broken, everything covered in blood, everywhere blood. It was as if the house itself had bled, its very essence tainted by the violence that had occurred. The sight was overwhelming, a nightmare made real. My eyes darted around, scanning the surroundings frantically. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle in the leaves felt like a threat. The forest, once a place of solace, now felt like a labyrinth of nightmares. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the fear that gripped my soul, my mind trying to understand the horror. It was as if reality itself had twisted into a grotesque version of its former self. The familiar paths were now alien, and the once comforting sounds of nature were replaced by eerie whispers and distant, haunting cries. The air reeked of blood, a metallic scent that overpowered the earthy aroma of the woods. It was a stark reminder of the violence that had occurred, a violence that seemed almost otherworldly in its brutality, mixing with the smell of the woods. Then I saw them, the remnants of a struggle, the signs of a battle fought in desperation, broken branches, trampled undergrowth, and the unmistakable stains of blood on the forest floor. The cameras ripped from the walls lay scattered like fallen soldiers. Their lenses, once vigilant eyes, now shattered and blind. They had been my silent guardians watching over me, but now they were nothing more than broken pieces of glass and metal, lay broken on the floor. They had tried to warn me, their last images capturing the chaos that had unfolded, but I had been too slow, too oblivious to the danger that crept closer with each passing moment. They had tried to warn me, but I was too late. The whispers came back, stronger now, their laughter echoing through the trees. It was a sound that chilled me to the bone, a mocking reminder of my failure, but I was too late. The whispers came back, stronger now, their laughter echoing. They spoke of unseen things, of horrors that lurked just beyond the edge of perception. Their voices were a cacophony of madness, each word dripping with malice. They spoke of unseen things, of ancient evils set free, of curses that had been unleashed upon the world. Their words painted a picture of a darkness that was both ancient and eternal, a force that had waited patiently for its moment to strike. Of ancient evils set free, of a darkness that destroyed everything. Then, silence. A heavy silence that choked me, pressing down on me like a physical weight. It was as if the very air had turned against me, suffocating me with its oppressive stillness, of a darkness that destroyed everything. Then silence, a heavy silence that choked me. I was alone, truly alone. The shadows were gone, their job done. They had shown me true terror, the kind that leaves scars on the soul. A heavy silence that choked me. I was alone, truly alone. The shadows were gone, their job done. They had shown me true terror, the kind that leaves scars on the soul. The darkness hiding beneath reality, the unseen horrors that lurk just out of sight. I was alone, truly alone. The shadows were gone, their job done. They had shown me true terror, the darkness hiding beneath reality. And as I stood there, surrounded by the ruins of my life, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the end. They had shown me true terror, the darkness hiding beneath reality. And as I stood there, surrounded by the ruins of my life, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning of a new nightmare, one that I would have to face alone. The darkness hiding beneath reality. And as I stood there, surrounded by the ruins of my life, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning of a new nightmare, one that I would have to face alone. The shadows had retreated, but their presence lingered, a constant reminder of the horrors that awaited. And as I stood there, surrounded by the ruins of my life, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning of a new nightmare, one that I would have to face alone. The shadows had retreated, but their presence lingered, a constant reminder of the horrors that awaited. The sky above was dark, foreboding, as if the heavens themselves were mourning the loss of innocence. Surrounded by the ruins of my life, I realized something chilling. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning of a new nightmare, one that I would have to face alone. The shadows had retreated, but their presence lingered, a constant reminder of the horrors that awaited. The sky above was dark, foreboding, as if the heavens themselves were mourning the loss of innocence. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. It was only the beginning of a new nightmare, one that I would have to face alone. The shadows had retreated, but their presence lingered, a constant reminder of the horrors that awaited. The sky above was dark, foreboding, as if the heavens themselves were mourning the loss of innocence. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. This was not the end, but a new chapter in a story of darkness and survival,